This week, we do have some answers for you, although we do also have some disturbing news on the program. Later this week, I think maybe tomorrow or the next day, we are going to release a story exclusive to this program that is economic terrorism. Proof, audio, their own words. It's pretty shocking, But I want you to know also, tomorrow, beginning tomorrow, we also have some answers for you. I'm not going to just tell you these things and just let you sit at home. Enlightenment, education, empowerment, and entrepreneurship. But tonight I want to talk to you about shortages. Shortages. The stock market is going up with the world on fire. Does that make any sense to you? You can't judge anything by the stock market anymore. Tells me that we do not have a shortage of money. Not with all the money that's being pumped in by the federal government. We have a shortage instead of common sense, of honesty, integrity, faith, and decency. The media won't cover any of these things. They will cover these. Oh, there's a problem with food prices. Not here in America, but elsewhere. Food shortages, money shortage. Oh yeah, jobs, workers' rights. They won't even cover oil. They barely cover gas prices, but certainly they will not cover oil. Because if they were covering oil, we'd have a different story on why the president was in Brazil. You know that last week he gave Petrobras, the company that we told you had Soros connections until we pointed it out, and then they sold those. Petrobras has a deep sea drilling permit now. Yeah, not a U.S. company. My understanding, this has never been issued before, but now it's going to a Brazilian company, Petrobras. They were given approval for a production safety system permit and a supplemental deepwater operating plant. So now they can start oil and gas production in the Gulf of Mexico under our permit, a Brazilian company. Obama also, while he was there, said he wanted to see the president of Brazil, who, by the way, is a Marxist guerrilla. Here's her mugshot from when she did time in jail. But now she's just a mainstream president who, let's not talk about the past. That's the politics of the past. There they are together. And the president is praising Brazil's democracy, holding it up as an example to the whole world, including us and even the Arab world. Yes, Arabs, if you just listen to President Obama, maybe you can have this. Oh, the beautiful streets of Brazil. 41 million people live in Brazil in poverty. That's over 20% of the total population. Who doesn't want that? Brazil has a murder rate 4 times that of the United States, but we should learn from them. And the youth murder rate in Brazil has increased 43% over the past 10 years. Sure, we know that no one does democracy better than a group of Marxists. By the way, he just wanted her to know that there's a huge market for Brazil's oil in America. Why? Why don't we sell our own oil to ourselves? I doubt this has anything to do with the Brazilian government now being the 4th largest foreign holder of our debt. But the media won't focus on any of that. No. They'll pay attention to other things. Definitely not China. No, not China. Not the fact that they have just steeply reduced their exports of rare earth minerals. Rare earth minerals, who cares about that? It's a collection of 17 chemical elements in the periodic table. Blah-de. Except we were the pioneer of rare earth minerals, and they're just used. In fact, they're essential. If you don't have them, you can't make cell phones, TVs, computer monitors, MP3 players, light bulbs, coffee makers, or anything really with a chip. China produces 97% of the world's supply of rare earth elements. They bought them all up across the world while we were spending money. They were buying those. Here in the U.S., we have enough to support and sustain our needs, except now the United States government won't let us get to them. Yeah, we can't refine them anyway anymore. We don't do that anymore. Yeah. Just as we can't get our own oil out of our own ground, or shale, or out of the sea, or anything. We can't do it. Nope, don't refine the elements because of the EPA. But we can buy all of our technology from China and Japan. And what would ever go wrong in China or Japan? These elements, commonly called rare earths, are actually fairly plentiful, but extracting them can cause some environmental damage. But China is the world leader in the environment. They're just great. Okay, this guy's wearing a mask because it gets so smoggy there. Sure, but I mean, all right, they're the world's biggest polluter, you know. Pollution has made cancer China's leading cause of death, but they got the masks. And remember during the Summer Olympics in Beijing, that huge algae outbreak that threatened to disrupt sailing events, blue-green algae blues, when nutrients, some caused by excessive pollution, builds up in the water. But I'm sure it's something entirely different. It only took 10,000 workers to clean that up. And remember, they do that cloud seeding thing. Oh, that's great. When they hunt rain clouds and then shoot them with rockets because they didn't want it to rain during the Olympic festivities. Yeah, that's going to be great when they're caretaker of the planet. When so much of the world gets its wish and China overtakes the U.S. as the world's preeminent superpower. Will China really take care of the environment for little Ling Ling? I don't think so. Will they limit coal mining and oil drilling? No. No. They will do whatever they have to do to feed the hunger. They hunger for more, and their people are growing rapidly. More and more resources, more and more money, and more power. You see, corruption, greed, and things like that are not American traits. They are human traits. The media won't cover the truth on these things or the potential food shortages. In 2008, I said we will be the only one in history to have burned our food. Watch 2008. Well, what's the cause of this? Well, it's something we've told you about for a long time. We are burning our food supply. Okay. So there we are, burning our food supply. Then I also said this. Food prices will be going up. The dollar is being intentionally collapsed. We are also training the world to blame America for every problem that pops up. When times are tough and they hit hard, do you really think the rest of the world is going to let the big bad America off without any punishment? Of course they will. Of course they will. Where is the story? Do we have the story from the Australian? Because this is great. I read this from the Australian this weekend. World starves as Americans burn food to stay on the road. That's great, isn't it? It's not that we're trying to be more environmentally friendly. No. It's not that we're searching for alternative energy sources. No, we're just so callous we're burning food so we can drive more. We couldn't care less about the dying masses of the world. Let them starve, says America. So this is the reality we're facing now. Well, what do we do about it? We'll talk about that next. Tomorrow night I have a special show on this with a studio audience, but I want to, what do you do? I will tell you that it is important that we start talking about positive things because it's a little overwhelming and you think, oh, you can't fight that. You can't fight that. Yes, you can, because it's evil. Good versus evil, and you know how the story ends. Martin Luther King talked about faith, hope, and love. We talked about faith, hope, and charity, and then we gave you the E4 project, enlightenment, education, empowerment, and entrepreneurship. Well, let me show you how that all fits in. E1 is faith. Find out what you believe. Find out who you serve. E2 is find the answers. What do you believe? What is true about our society? Find out and educate yourself. This is faith and hope and love. And somebody, when the world melts down, somebody's going to be looking for answers. This way, brother, not that way. Come on this way. E3, be prepared to help and lead. If good people do nothing, we're toast. You must be prepared. You think the Japanese would have survived if they weren't prepared? If they didn't have these things going for them and discipline? Be prepared to help others and lead. This isn't about you. There are people, as we will show you later this week, that are trying to collapse our markets. You've got to be there to help people with answers, with faith, and help and lead. And the last one is E4, entrepreneurship. People think that's all, we've got to start a business. No. Let me define it as this. Create, not destroy. Remember, I told you tonight, it's about good versus evil. One says, learn faith, find the answers, educate yourself, be prepared, empower yourself, and create. Do not destroy. As you will see later this week, there are those that are intentionally trying to destroy. Do not fall in with the wrong side. Final note on evil next. In Wisconsin, as part of the still highly contentious labor debate bill, the Senate GOP State Senator Dan Kapanke called off his public meetings in his district after his car windshield was vandalized. Someone threw nails all over his driveway 3 times. And then he also received little death threats like this one. Quote, "We will hunt you down. We will slit your throats. We will drink your blood. We will have your decapitated head on a pike in the Madison Town Square. This is your last warning." Sounds awfully hateful, violent, and vitriolic to me. But according to the AFL-CIO president, Richard Trumka, quote, "You ain't seen nothing yet."
And now they're seeing what backlash really looks like. And I promise you this, it's like the old song goes, you ain't seen nothing yet.
I take him at his word. I've shared this before, but it is worth mentioning again. The man who came up with the blueprint for the progressive nightmare that we are witnessing today is Saul Alinsky. He is loved by the left. Loved by the left. Rules for radicals. The teachers union are now having you teach this to your kids now in school. But here, after he lovingly says to Irene, the next page, he says just a tip of the hat. Lest we forget, and at least an over-the-shoulder acknowledgement to the very first radical from all our legends, mythology, and history. And who's to know where mythology leaves off and history begins, or which is which? The very first radical known to man, who rebelled against the establishment and did it so effectively that he at least won his own kingdom. Lucifer, Saul Alinsky. Now let me ask you, if you're reading a book where they say, hey, by the way, you're going to be a radical when we're done, but just a tip of the hat to the guy who damned a third of the angels to hell for all eternity, isn't he great? Do you think maybe you should question, what this book is saying? By the way, eventually the left figured out that they shouldn't be praising Satan in public, and so and they want to teach this in school, so they've taken this page out. So the Lucifer as inspiration paragraph is not in the later edition of Saul Alinsky's book. But let me ask you this question. By removing the original line, from the intent of the author, does that make this now more evil or less evil? You decide. Hello, America. Are we back? Yes. Just writing tomorrow plans on how to collapse the financial system. No, and you won't believe it. And gosh darn it, we have it on tape. And on Friday, the Fed, how it began, the monster from Jekyll Island, but only the facts you don't want to miss this week. Buckle up. From New York, good night, America.